This is Michael Popok, and welcome to the new Legal AF YouTube channel. And I'm at the intersection. And now that we've got this new relationship, this new collaboration with Court Accountability Action about fraud in the federal court system up to the Supreme Court, it got me thinking, what is stopping Merrick Garland and the future Kamala Harris administration Department of Justice from setting up a special counsel to go after the justices of the United States Supreme Court for their possible ethical violations bordering on crimes, and what would be the likely outcome of that? That's the purpose of this hot take. Now, it starts with what we've already seen. We've got the Senate Judiciary Committee, led by people like Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and others, who have been focused like a laser on all of the ethical breaches at the United States Supreme Court that are unprecedented. It's also the name of our new show here on Legal AF about the Supreme Court, but it is unprecedented. We've never had such a corrupt United States Supreme Court, all on the MAGA right, on the alt-right, all under Chief Justice Roberts' watch. This is unprecedented in history. We've got Clarence Thomas taking up to millions of dollars in gifts and unreported travel, bought and paid for, as apparently is his seat, by MAGA right wing, by Leonard Leo of the Federalist Society. All roads lead back to Leonard Leo, who Donald Trump outsourced the selection of federal judges to, the confirmation of Supreme Court justices and federal justices to, the shadowy figure who's no longer in the shadows because of channels like Legal AF and the Midas Touch Network, Leonard Leo. So you've got millions of dollars being funneled literally to Clarence Thomas and his wife, Ginny Thomas, through people like Harlan Crow, who is the heir to the real estate fortune, Trammell Crow, when he's not collecting Nazi memorabilia. I'm not kidding. He's standing in front of federal judges as they're being sworn in, handpicked by Leonard Leo, along with Clarence Thomas, people like James Ho, H.O., on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I mean, that has been the mastery of Leonard Leo, is the manipulation of the United States Supreme Court by handpicking it and he needed Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, and holding the seat open in order to pick Gorsuch and block Merrick Garland. People forget that Merrick Garland was supposed to be in the Gorsuch seat, and all of the best laid plans of mice and men and Leonard Leo would have fallen to the wayside had Merrick Garland gotten into that chair. Instead, Gorsuch got into that chair, bought and paid for by Leonard Leo and the other groups around Leonard Leo, like the National Rifle Association and Big Oil. That's who put him in this chair. Brett Kavanaugh, right? A lot of problems came up in Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation process, including a number of women and men who accused him of sexually assaulting women at every stage of his education after high school, including high school and college and law school. Bought and paid for by Leonard Leo, right? And so Kavanaugh has sort of stayed out of it since, and Gorsuch too, although they all go to the Federalist Society junkets and hunting lodges and mountain lairs for their meetings, paid for by the Federalist Society, rub elbows with other Federalist Society judges like Aileen Cannon, and going to Antonin Scalia Law School and George Mason University near Washington for, again, smoke-filled room meetings of other Federalists to talk about their agenda. You've got Sam Alito in the middle of an ethical scandal. How many times do we now have to hear about Sam Alito holding clandestine meetings with donors in which he's talking about cases before there's an ethical violation or a criminal investigation? So you got Alito, you've got Thomas, you've got others. I mean, Gorsuch sold a house to a Federalist Society person, regularly has business before the court. John Roberts' wife makes money from placing lawyers in law firms who regularly have business in front of the court. And the question is, has this raised the level of a special counsel being appointed, independent from the Department of Justice, to look into all these things, and particularly Clarence Thomas? I mean, his grift has reached the millions before our eyes in broad daylight. And so you've seen the beginnings, right? You've seen the Senate Democrats leading the charge in the Judiciary Committee. And if they ever get a hold of the Oversight Committee in the House, they'll do the same thing. You've seen independent organizations like ProPublica nonpartisan groups like Court Accountability Action, investigating and bringing to light all of these unsavory facts about Ginny Thomas, formerly a member of a cult, now a member of another cult in MAGA, and her attempts to overthrow democracy and regularly have business before the court through her or her other organizations for which she's on the board, or she was a founding member who filed briefs, and her husband never recuses himself. And so you have the outside groups, right, in this ecosystem: ProPublica, Court Accountability, Legal AF, Midas Touch Network, all shining a light on somebody like Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas. You have the Senate Judiciary Committee talking about why was Sam Alito allowed to participate in any of the Trump decisions, given the fact that he and his wife were flying the flag of insurrection, a Trump flag, if you will, outside their two homes during the course of the voting. Why was that allowed? The ones that rise to the level, to me, of criminal conduct potential is Clarence Thomas and his wife. And the only way you can get to the bottom of it, because you can't have the Department of Justice do it, it's too partisan, right? But that is the very reason, with that appearance of being partisan, that the Attorney General, through the DOJ guidelines, can appoint a special counsel, a new special counsel. Look, he appointed one to look at why, Joe Biden had, a dozen or so boxes in his house, in his garage, and other places, the Biden Center, after he left office as the vice president, and what was in those boxes. We had Robert Hur for that. Of course, we have special counsel Jack Smith investigating and prosecuting Donald Trump and everybody around Donald Trump. But this is the purpose of a special counsel. But in order to do that, Merrick Garland has to make, let's be frank, the political decision and calculus that he can do it right now. 2 weeks before the election. I don't think Merrick Garland, given everything that we know about him and the past being prologue and knowing how this guy's mind is wired, that he's going to do it in the next 15 days. He's not. He would have done it already. But should the next Attorney General, who will not be named Merrick Garland, I assure you, I don't believe that Madam President-elect Kamala Harris, as part of her cabinet, is going to have Merrick Garland stay on. I think she's going to want to handpick her own person. A lot of people were clamoring for her to pick Josh Shapiro as her vice president. She made her own decision, as she is allowed to do, and as she showed her leadership in picking Tim Walz. And she's going to pick her own cabinet, the big four in the cabinet: the Attorney General, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Treasury, the big four. She's going to pick the big four, and it's not going to be recycling. She's going to keep the Fed chairman in place, Powell. And she may keep Yellen in place if Yellen will do another round as Treasury, because she's done so well in managing the economy. But the rest, I think she has to pick her own Attorney General. And then, with her guidance and with the Attorney General's kind of independence, have to decide whether it's time to go after the United States Supreme Court to push back against their worst instincts, as it circles the drain of history as one of our worst courts ever, presided over by John Roberts. Things have gone downhill for John Roberts ever since he was the deciding vote to save Obamacare, which was a good thing and a patriotic thing, but he was pilloried in the MAGA press and the right-wing press, and he's never recovered. And everything he's decided since then has always been, when he's had two choices, two roads to go down, it's always hard right. It's always make a hard right turn. And they are joined now by the Leonard Leo picked Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, joining Alito and Thomas, giving them with the Chief Justice's vote, 5 votes, count to 5, you've got your decision. Amy Coney Barrett is sort of a swing state. She's center right, but she's more center than right, and she's not MAGA. And she's quickly becoming the deciding vote. I'm not calling it yet the Amy Coney Barrett court, but she definitely spread her wings last term and has started to do it already now, and even taken on Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito in her own way, Chief Justice Roberts. She could be the reason that the court doesn't completely spiral out of control and move hard right. They're already starting to think better of some of their decisions because of the reporting that we're doing. They're already moving back a little bit on the environmental protection area, whereas we thought they were just going to topple the entire regulatory state and let big oil and big fossil take over, it looks like they're pulling back a little bit this term, right? They're trying to walk it back, and people like Amy Coney Barrett will help them with that. And I think appointing, and this is a call to on the list of things for Kamala Harris to do when she gets elected, is to have her attorney general appoint a special counsel to investigate the ethical violations bordering on crimes at the United States Supreme Court. So remember, in order for this to work, there has to be crimes. Special counsel investigate crimes, not civil issues. Civil ethical issues, that's got to be done through the imposition of an ethics code, lawsuits, that type of thing. Referrals. All these people are members of the bar. They could have their bar licenses investigated. Why not? I mean, and everyone's like, well, John Roberts is great on the tautology of we're ethical because we say we're ethical, because everything we do is ethical. No. And they are bar members. I don't know if they keep up their licenses. I like to look it up. But the bar could investigate each of these people too for conduct unbecoming their being members of the bar. That's interesting. But I'm more interested now in special counsel. So let's continue to pressure as a group, as a community here on Legal AF, a community that's now 250,000 strong. I thought it would take us till Halloween. We're going to hit 300,000 by Halloween, and not so much because of me, although I'm the chief curator here and I'm sort of running the channel and I'm doing a lot of the content, but I'm bringing over some great people from the Midas universe, people that you know, like Dina Dahl. She and I are doing Unprecedented about the United States Supreme Court once a week. And Karen Freeman Ignifilo over here. And we've got Shan Wu is going to be joining us for more regular content over here, former prosecutor under color of law. And then we've got Court Accountability Action, amazing organization, kind of blowing my mind and opening my mind about fraud and big money corruption at the federal court process system, the picking of judges all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. Thanks for being here. Take a moment. Early voting has started. Free subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Till my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.